Hi friends, it's Deanna Williston from Our Blooming Catholic Life, and I'm coming to you today to ask, how are you doing? I know a lot of preppers, and they think they were prepared for like World War III or an economic collapse, right? They thought we'd be without power, so they have power supplies, they have fuel, they have all these food stores, camp stoves, like they're ready to go in case of that. I hope they got toilet paper. Right? It was the things that we ended up needing, especially for people with kids, right? Did they have like enough diapers and wipes? And it's kind of showing us our reliance on things we don't need. Cloth diapers exist, and cloth diapers are like so advanced now, and you can wash them properly and stuff at home. And if you had cloth diapers before this started, like you were set. The other people are desperate. They are like flying off the shelves. And the same goes for adult incontinence products. They're really advanced now. You can buy them and wash them yourself. Is it super fun? No, but it's better for the environment. So many people are saying like this is Mother Nature coming after us. And no. Now, does nature have a role to play? Sure. In any population, like say the deer population, when it gets overpopulated, you're either going to have more car accidents, right, with cars hitting deer just because there's more of them. You are going to have a population crash where they eat all the food, there's no food left, and they start starving. Or you're going to have some disease come through because possibly there's some with injuries, right, from the car accidents, some that aren't faring so well because they're hungry and malnourished, and then a disease comes through and wipes them out. Now, is that Mother Nature mad at deer? No. Like, nobody says that. So why do you think it's the same for humans? Look, on one hand, you want to be super great to the environment, so we set aside land for parks and stuff, and we go live in high-rise apartments. That sounds like a great idea, but what you've just done is made a very dense population rife for some kind of plague to come through, right? So you have to have a balanced approach. You can't just prepare for one scenario only because there's multiple scenarios going on. And like right now, so many teachers only knew how to teach in a brick and mortar classroom to so many kids with so many these supplies, right? And that's not how they're teaching now. And the thing is, even teachers who have taught before online, this isn't exactly the same with how they're teaching. Kids may or may not have brought home supplies like crayons and pencils. If you're in the city, you may just not have those things. City schools to start with don't even always have textbooks and paper enough to go around, so the kids can't even take the books home. So the kids probably in the city don't have books at home, right? They don't have school supplies at home. So they're just completely out of luck right now. And what is working for people in the suburbs may not be working for students in the city, because a lot of educational research shows a lot of how you do has to do, sorry, I do apologize for that, with how much education your mom has had. So your mom may know how to navigate all these computer programs. Your suburban mom may also be a teacher or a substitute who can help you out with a lot of subjects. Your mom in the city, that may not be her thing, right? She may not be a technology worker. She may not know how to work this and help you out zoomed with your classroom. She's like, wait. So it's not the same. It's apples and oranges. So teachers are reinventing it like every day. Like so many teachers went to Zoom and then like, yikes, security hazard. People were busting into the classrooms and taking over the class. There are people stealing passwords. So that didn't work out. So now you're going to more asynchronous learning. And I will say, when I got my master's in online education, a lot of what we learned was a blended format. And there are advantages there because it's not putting all your eggs in one basket, right? So one of the things you can do is like make a PowerPoint and then make a video of it. So kids can access it asynchronously. So if you've got a learner that needs to hear things multiple times, they can hear it multiple times. And it's a PowerPoint, so it's visual, right? But you just made a video So now you've got audio added to it. So you've got those. And then you've got to have something in there for your kinetic learners. So some kind of a little project they can do, not necessarily a worksheet, but some kind of a project. We also learned in our online learning studies that group projects are very important. And this can be done in different ways. So in the suburbs, kids may be able to start a little chat group on their mom's phone and work on something together. Like maybe there was a puzzle they had to solve or something, and they had to work it out together and come up with one answer and maybe make a video reply back to their teacher as a group, right? So, one kid is the spokesman this week and maybe somebody else is the spokesman next week and has to make the little video. And that's more realistic for kids in the suburbs than for kids in a more rural area or in the heart of the city. They're going to do it a different way. I imagine kids in the city some of them might be, if you have classmates in your building, you may be able to holler at each other from their balconies. I don't know. I don't live in that environment, but I know that it would look differently probably what you're doing. So what is going to work and what works for different income levels is going to be different. Right? Everything's going to be different there. And parents, you don't want to really be leaving your kids alone with these devices all the time, right? And so you may now be looking into some of the internet protection devices that homeschoolers have been working on like forever. So if you need to know a device, they exist that can filter that stuff, and they're still not perfect. So then you have your kids sitting at the dining room table working, right? You really don't want to have your kids alone in their bedroom with internet access to adults. That's just a bad habit to teach them. And there's usually something in the room that teachers don't need to see. They don't need to see your kids' dirty laundry. Not appropriate, right? And to make sure your kids being appropriate, kids are kids, right? Have them at the dining room table. So just prepare for multiple ways and try and incorporate as many kinds of learning in it as you can. And is it tough? Yeah, but I want to encourage teachers, parents, students, it's going to get easier as you do it. And don't be afraid to use some videos that are out there. Whenever I had a snow day and I was tutoring a class, like at a co-op, I would often send my kids 3 or 4 videos that they had to watch and then a project to do based on it. Now, there are other people's videos most of the time. Like if you're doing high school chemistry, I love Mr. Causey. But even then, I watch every video from beginning to end to make sure that it's completely safe for my students before I put it onto a playlist. So what I would do then is make it into a YouTube playlist, name of that class, right? I'd include the videos, and then I'd either have a quiz, and if I had a little app on my phone that would auto-generate the quiz, it would mix up the order of the questions, so the kids can't really cheat there. It mixes up the order, and sometimes even which of the questions your kids would see, depending on the app. Or I could have a project, like I might have some videos on how to make an infographic for even my science class. I love to do that for marine biology. I think I did videos on what an infographic is and how to make one. And then my students would have to send me back an infographic, and it could be hand done or it could be done on like PowerPoint or something, right? And so they'd have to send it back to me. And that again, if you do it on Google Docs, multiple children can contribute to those projects. So group projects are still there. The advantages of using group projects is each of your kids is going to have a different learning style and be able to contribute in a different way, especially with them all being at home. They're going to have access to a multitude of different resources, and even the parents that are helping out are going to have different resources. So your kids are going to be pulling all that together to do their homework in new ways that they weren't able to do before in the classroom. And they're really learning how to collaborate. Use this time to teach them how to collaborate. That is, what is that, a P21 skill? It's worth it. It's worth the extra effort. And teachers, it's going to get easier. You're going to get used to this style. And even as you go on, you're going to develop your own resources, and it's going to get easier. It will. So when I talk about getting ready for just one thing, don't do it. Here is an option you may or may not have heard of, the Marian option. So a lot of people have heard of the Benedict option, right? And that's basically do like a monastery where you retreat, you go off grid, you get your people right. So like the monasteries in Ireland, where you're teaching everyone Latin in there, everyone's learning, everyone's doing work, spending time praying and learning. And you're focusing on that. And that's how the culture stayed alive during medieval times. And that really worked then, but we don't live in that time. So it might be fine for some people, but it's not realistic for everyone. And there's different ways of dealing with our current crisis. So it's kind of funny that this book came out before the pandemic, when people were talking about, and she's saying the Benedict option may be an option for you. Going and living somewhere like in a secular Franciscan little commune. There are some, they're not the normal secular Franciscan order. Normal. You know what I mean? They're not the main one, but there are some groups that do that. You could form an intentional faith community where everybody lives in the houses, kind of hangs out, potlucks, stuff like that, right? Of course, with appropriate state legislated social distancing and face mask and glove rules. But there's many different options you could do. The Marian option is one that everybody can do, and it's been good since, Mary lived on earth. So here's what you do. First, the book. This is, by Dr. Carrie Gress, if you haven't seen that, Dr. Carrie Gress. So she basically goes through the history of different Marian devotions and how Mary has been a part of world history. So she talks about the Benedictine model, Mary, the most powerful woman on the earth, Mary as cultivator of culture. Then we're going to look at some Marian apparitions. Our Lady of Guadalupe, both with Islam and evangelization. So she's not talking about our little Guadalupe in Mexico to start with. She's talking about the one in Spain. If you haven't heard that, it's all connected and it's amazing. Then Our Lady of Lourdes, and then Our Lady of Fatima. So humbling of the proud, the conquering of communism. And then part 3 goes a little bit into some Marian theology. And then, it starts out Mariolatry or Mariology. Is it the worship of Mary or the study and love of Mary? And then she takes you deeper into the Trinity, Mary's maternal care, and whether this is the time of the anti-Mary or the age of Mary. And then she wants to talk about how do we live it. Okay, so now I've gotten you ready. So how are we going to do it? And she gives you a simple remedy and gives you a little bit of history of that remedy. And then we're going to look at how this has been lived out before. And the person that she chose as a case study is Pope St. John Paul II. And then she gives you a Marian solution, which is a whole bunch of totally practical little things that you can work into your daily life. And I don't want to spoil it for you. You're probably already doing some of them, but it makes it so practical. So am I recommending this? I told you I was going to read it. I read it. I 100% recommend this. And you're like, you just said this was a theology book. I don't have the brain for it right now. I'm in the middle of a panic mode and I'm not a theologian. This book is so accessible. It's incredibly deep, but incredibly accessible. And once you pick it up, it's going to be hard to put down, quite frankly. So do I recommend this one wholeheartedly? Absolutely. This is a beautiful book. I've met Dr. Carrie Gress. She's a lovely woman. And this is just really, it's great practical theology because it's not watering anything down, but it's accessible, and she gives you the deep theology, but she also gives you a simple way to incorporate it into your daily life. So 100% check out the Marian Option. I got it from Tan Books online. You can grab it anywhere, really. I think it's a pretty popular Catholic book. I think there's lots of places you can get that. So I just want to recommend that to you, and I hope, friends, that you are all doing well. If you're not, shoot us a note in the comments below. Who knows, maybe someone else can help you out. So God bless you, friends. Ah.